we've all got pretty much the same type of problems, you know? And then if you think that money is something that where, you know, oh, not everyone has money problems. You know, that guy makes, you know, $1 million a year. He has no problems. Look at the car he drives. Well, no, not necessarily, because he could have a different set of problems. And you maybe are making, you know, minimum wage, working 40 hours a week, and, you know, and barely making ends meet because you got to get 1, 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And you feel like you've got a whole other set of problems. But guess what, guys? The guys at the top and then the guys making the minimum wage, we've all got the same issues. Number one, we're men. Number two, we're silent. And number three, we don't let anybody know about what's going on, right? So therefore, we have no voice. And so, you know, I know wealthy people, and I know people that are making, you know, minimum wage with a couple of jobs, just making ends meet. And I think the only difference between both of them is just it's a mindset, right? So the guys at the top have a different mindset of, you know, basically getting to the top. And the guys, you know, making minimum wage and having 2 or 3 jobs have the mindset of let me survive, right? So we go back to, you know, in our last episode about my friend at the cleaners, where he basically said similar to that. He said, "Look, I'm at the bottom. You know, I'm making minimum wage. You know, I'm working, you know, 40 hours a week, and we're making ends meet. And I've got 2 other jobs." He says, "But you know, I've never had money, so therefore I don't miss it, and I don't know what it is to not have it." And that's exactly, you know, and the reason I'm saying this is because of the inequality, right? We can easily say, oh, guys with the guys that are making, that are earning good money and they've got a good life, oh man, they don't have the same problems as me. And then the guy at the very bottom making minimum wage with the 2 jobs is saying, oh, with the problems that I have and the issues I have, those are huge in comparison to anybody else. Well, we can't say that, guys, because a problem, if you really look at it in the sense that here's the problem. The problem is this, right? This is the problem. So how is this different from a guy that's making, that's earning millions of dollars or billions of dollars a year, and the guy that's earning minimum wage? There is no difference, because at the end of the day, it is a problem, and the problem is gonna last until that person decides to start creating solutions. And the solutions, guys, is this: we need to get together, we need to support each other, we need to unify, and we need to be one. And so if we're that, therefore now we have a support system. If we have the support system, now we have a brotherhood. And if we have a brotherhood, now we have, think of it almost like a closed circle. And now we live within that circle. And then everything that we need, emotionally, supportive, you know, even people to talk to, you know, the buddy system, you know, the silent man, you know, tools that we get, all that is in our circle, right? And so we live in this circle. We live in this new utopia where all of us take care of each other, right? Yet we still live in the now, right? Where we have our families, where we have our friends, where we have, you know, all these issues that are going to come up and problems that are going to come up and everything. We live in both worlds, except here you have the ability to be vulnerable, right? And if we can have you be vulnerable here in this place, is where you're going to get the most worth, because you're going to be able to, like I said, learn and to utilize your tools. And the tools that you've had all your life, okay? The only thing we're doing is basically just exercising these tools for you to better be able to use them when you need them and how you need them, and be able to put them away and immediately get back into doing the work. Because doing the work is what? Exactly what we talked about at the beginning of this episode. It's leaving a legacy, okay? And so now I'm going to go back to, you know, the story I was talking about, the ranch. And so it's important for me to be able to do that because it's not just for me. It's for me to be able to go ahead and be able to leave a legacy, And the way that the legacy looks like to me is I'm going to go ahead and share with you something that was so powerful that happened in my life that it actually made me like it made me go from like me to what, like us, like everyone, like just let's bring everybody, along this ride. And so it was just randomly one day, went to sleep. I had been thinking about things. I had been questioning, how my life was going. Like I said, I was successful at that moment. I was abundant. I had an amazing life. My kids, my wife. Everything was just amazing, right? Everything was amazing. And then I went to sleep. And so when I'm sleeping, all I remember is that I just, I'll go back to when my dad passed. So when my dad passed, and prior to that, he went on a journey, right? So he, up until that point that he had gone on that journey, and I think it was maybe, I gotta say, maybe 4 years before he passed, he went on a journey, a spiritual journey, and a good friend of the family invited him, and he went on this journey. And so when he went on this journey, he came out, and up until that point, he was, I gotta say, he was a taker in the sense that he did things for himself, but we didn't really have that amazing relationship per se that we always wanted, right? Or at least I always wanted. And so when he went to this spiritual outing and he came back out, I mean, it was just like day and night, right? Day and night. It was just like, I mean, he was a powerful man to that point. At least in my eyes, he was a very powerful man. He always tried to, be of service to other people, to give whatever he could, and but he had an ego, right? He had an ego, and you could see the ego. Like there was a thing that kind of filled his cup by him doing certain things. But when he went to that spiritual retreat and then he came out, it was like 720 degrees, like not 360 degrees. It was completely, I mean, he went around the world twice and basically landed back, and they brought him to us, and he was like, and like he was enlightened. Like he became this light, this like a beam of light. And now when he went ahead and saw me, it was like he would, like, first of all, he'd hug me, like, but with such a like tenderness, right? And he would tell me he loved me, and then immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, like I felt like I could, like, in his arms, and he was a big guy too. He was about 6'2", but I was always, taller and I had more weight than he did. But when he hugged me that day, when we went to see him after he had done that retreat, the spiritual retreat, he hugged me, and that was the first time I felt like a little kid, and I put myself in his arms, and I literally just let myself go. Like, just, like when you're a little kid and you're getting hugged, or even think about it like if you have children now and you hug them and how tender they are, and how like lovingly they just hug you, and that you can do no wrong in their eyes. That's the way that, my dad made me feel that day. And so when I did that, I literally I almost took like a breath, like, and then I just went, And when I did that, I just kind of just let myself go into his arms, and he hugged me, told me he loved me, and it was just a powerful moment. So the and I always tell you guys, like, when I'm telling these stories, they're just not stories. They're just like these deeply ingrained memories that I'm able to patch into and bring them out. And even right now, when I was saying I was hugging him, I got to see my dad. I got to see him. I got to feel his warmth. I got to feel the love that like he just radiated that love at that moment. Like, and so, when, fast forwarding to like after that, that after we left there, life was different. Life was completely different. Like, it was just like, at home, it was just different. He was different. Like, he was just of service. Like, he was of service. Like, and then they started going to, to the weekly events that the same place was doing. And then, they would take food, be of service. They would give their time, be of service. They would do everything. It was him and my mom, both of them, just doing the same thing. And then it was like, like when I went, because I was like, hey, I want to go. Like, I want to go. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I want to go. And so we went, and I remember, like, all the people that were coming into this place, to meet, and the way that the men were running up to my father. Like, they were running up to him, and right when they were running up to him, you just, like, he was a beam of light. But remember, guys, he was a beam of light now. Like, and almost like, think of it like he's just radiating light, and whoever he hits, he just, like, he makes them just smile, and like just happiness, and it's just love, right? Just like a straight love, like. And so they would come up to him, they would shake his hand first, right, before they would give him a hug. But this man, I mean, my father, this man, like I had told you guys before in another episode, he had these huge hands. Man, when he shook these people's hand, like, it was like he would encompass their hand, but he would almost make them weak, because he would shake his hand so firmly. Like, men were told to shake hands firmly, and look them in the eye. And so when he was shaking their hands, he was looking in their eyes, and they would almost like break down. Like, they would literally, like, if it looked like the way I felt when I hugged them the first time. That's how the men would almost, like, they would buckle just slightly, and then he would hug them. But it was like I don't want to say it was a violent moment, but it was a very it was such a powerful moment that it looked like he was like he was shaking them. But it wasn't like like I said, a violent shake. It was just such a shake that it, like, almost like whatever they had going on with them, it's like he basically shook it away from them, right? Like, he shook them to the point where, like, almost imagine like shaking a tree full of fruit, like, but there's the first fruit that's going to fall is going to be what's already bad, or it's becoming spoiled, or it's already to the point where it's going to turn. That's exactly the way I saw those people when they were shaking my dad's hand, and he was hugging them. Like, he was shaking all the bad out of them. Like, whatever they were going through, whatever they had going on, like, he was literally shaking it off of them. And so, after that, it was just, every time somebody would see him, it was the same thing over and over. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of times he did that over the years. And then, when he passed, and people found out, I think that showed that showed the legacy that that man, my father, was able to leave in the matter of those 4 years, something he hadn't done his whole life, right? To now that moment where he had become such a beam of light, such hope for the people that needed his support, that when he passed away and then the people showed up, not only at the service that they did before the actual burial. The service that they did for him was, there was hundreds and hundreds of people there. But then when we went to the service, all I was told, because I don't remember. I just, even if I could go back, I don't remember. All I remember was just a multitude of people, where it was to the point where the church that we held it at the cemetery, there wasn't enough room for all the people to sit inside the church, and we had got in the service at the biggest church at the cemetery. And even then, there was overflow. People had an overflow outside. And then when we went to the burial site, it was the same exact thing. It was people. They said there was people just, and it was magnificent. I mean, it was the best way to. It was like the best way for my dad to go, like surrounded by all the people he had touched, all the people he had left like an imprint on, by giving them something. He gave them hope. He gave them, the strength. He gave them the ability to become, to become strong. And so, when I had this dream, right? I had this dream. So I had this dream, and I was already kind of at that point where I was doubting, like, what I was leaving in this world, because it was always, like I said, it was just always about me, and then to that day when I had that dream, it was a very vivid dream, like very vivid dream. And I remember I was flying, like I knew I had passed away, because I was basically floating above the cemetery, right, where they were going to bury me. And so then you could see my burial, and you could see, and the thing that I saw was exactly the vision that I had when my dad passed, of all those people that he had touched. And that's when, my life changed, because it became about being of service, And don't get me wrong, guys. And even to this day, I'm still, gravitating back and forth, and I've got one foot over here and one foot over there, of where I don't do things always the right way, but surely, like what do they call it? Like, it's happening at a very fast pace now, where I'm eliminating all the things that don't allow me to be the best version of myself, and basically gravitating to what's going to be the legacy that I want to leave, not only for my family, but for my children also. But it's a legacy that I also want to leave for myself. And it's not a monetary legacy, guys. Just understand that. This is not a monetary legacy. It's a life legacy. Like, that I want the same thing, like I'm in a race, like I said before, I'm 51 years old, and I'm in a race against myself. I'm in a race against, being able to emulate my father, being able to, like, just get to the point where he got enlightened. I'm racing to get to where, like, even if I could have just a piece of it, but I'm racing to get there. And that's where the urgency really started to kind of, sink in. And that's where things in my life that I thought were important, having a successful business, earning money, being able to go ahead and not only take care of my family, but also being able to have extras. And that's where that just wasn't important anymore, right? And where it became more important to like be of service, to give myself to, to help people, to be able to go ahead and share by experience, to be vulnerable. And that's kind of where this the silent man started. It started in my mind, and it wasn't until one day that it just hit me. It just hit me after coming up with all these amazing ideas about helping the homeless, and and helping the migrants, and helping solve the issue with housing, and to these humongous projects, right? And then solving the issue with people not having enough time with their families, and next they're working 3 jobs, and like coming up with all these amazing solutions, right? Even to the point of coming up with an actual bank that's able to process payments for people without them having any even money. But it all started coming together to be of service, and that's where, like I said, it just, like by divine grace, by having so much faith in the fact that I wanted to come up with something, that the Silent Man was born. Because I felt like, what better legacy can I leave, especially for my son, and then for my daughter, and then for because I have two daughters, and I have a son, and then I have another son that's going to be born in August, and then I have a granddaughter. That what better way to leave something than to leave for my family, than to have them see me helping others, getting past all these issues and problems, and and beliefs that they have in themselves, especially because of programs, And I've I'm always working with my kids, to let them know about programs, and how these things affect us, because we don't have to have limiting beliefs, and we don't have to have programs that are basically not allowing us to be the best version of ourselves. So that's why the Silent Man was born, and now I'm making it my life's work to give back to all of you men, and then opening up whatever services that I'm able to do to better your lives, to better your family's lives, and then we're going to do it together, because like I said, it's a lot more fun that way, by the way, too. So, growing together. And so you guys are at the cusp of, an explosion that's about to go ahead and happen, where we're all going to go on this journey together, for everyone that chooses to go into this journey. And, and it's okay. Like, if you're not ready to, to be a part of it, just know that it's going to be here for you, because in life, I learned a long time ago that in life, not everyone gets to go now, right? But doesn't necessarily mean they don't get to go. Look at this. It's a perfect story about my father. All those years, that he basically was just doing his thing, which I started being the same, right? And then, getting to the point where, 4 years before his time was up in this world, that he basically became, a beam of light, especially for the men around him, and even a lot of the women, they he was such a gentleman. He was such a giver. Like he was the type that he would take his shirt off his back and give it to you. He would be the one that would help you move. He would be the one that would be there for, whatever you needed. Like he was just always just there. Like, but he wasn't like that always. But when he became that, he basically became the embodiment of that, like he lived, breathed, and that's all he was about. And even, I remember saying something to him, because he was giving his time freely, right? Freely. Absolutely wasn't charging a dime or wasn't even expecting anything. And he was going and he was helping the same place that held the seminar, the same place that he went for his like it was I guess it was like you could say it was like a seminar or a retreat, right? The retreat. He gave his time freely, and he basically went in and he would come home, super tired, right? And you could never tell, because I saw it because I know what tired looks like, but he would never say it, right? And I'm glad that that's something that I was able to. That's one of the things that I was able to take from him is to be the same, right? But I know for a fact that sometimes, once again, guys, it's not the best way to be, because as men, and regular people, it's just we get tired. We get overwhelmed, we get overburdened. And so best way to do it is, like I said, to talk, open your mouth, talk, and then, ask for help. And I guarantee you people will come out of the woodwork to help you, especially in this group that we're creating. If you join us and you're part of it, it's a movement. And once you're in a movement, we're all moving forward all the time. And no man will be left behind. We will take everyone with us, because that's really what we're starting here. We're starting a legacy of men that basically empower each other to be better versions of themselves. So thank you so much for another wonderful episode. And we like, click, and subscribe. We will be having merch that we're going to be giving out to all of you, and that you'll be able to pick. What we ask is that you basically write an email, maybe something in regards to the Instagram or one of the other social media platforms, and even here on YouTube or any other ones, just to go ahead and send out like a short letter or text or anything like that, just letting us know where you're at, what you're doing, and what you're going through, and how we can support you. And then also, please request the Silent Man Manifesto. That's powerful. It was built and created for you to go ahead and help you have some type of a blueprint on how we can go ahead and get past the things that we're going through. So thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again.